Dear friends and colleagues, it is my joy and pleasure to participate in this conference and share my feelings and thoughts about the great endeavor we all are taking part at, promoting value education. And I'm very thankful to the director of the Baha'i Academy, Lisan Azadi, and to Trip Barthel, who both made a great effort to help me to develop the Hippo, the Happy Hippo program, which is aimed to help young people to apply the highest moral principles in their lives. It is a source of my joy to know that the Happy Hippo program is an integral part of the Academy program of Universal Human Values. And I am also glad to know that recently the Baha'i Academy has been recognized as the research center for value education. Interesting that the Happy Hippo program was developed as a value-based television talk show as a response to the serious challenge the Russian community faced in late 80s, early 90s, when there was up to 88 youth gangs in the city of Kazan, the capital of the Republic of Tatarstan, one of the provinces of the Russian Federation. Then its focus widened significantly, aiming at the problems of the Russian society in general, and then later to the problems of the world. The goal of the newly designed program was then the healing and education of society through regular collective deepening in moral aspects, based on the highest moral principles proclaimed by prophets of all world religions, by outstanding philosophers and prominent people, accumulated by the wisdom of the whole of mankind. There needs to be a civilized way to touch on sensitive social issues through effective consultation. When strong opinions clash, this very often brings out a spark of truth, which is much better than having people clash with thought. Happy Hippo touches on many issues, from the role of the family to the gender issues, from personal behavior issues to global environmental problems, and is always directed at solving the problems in a positive and constructive way. Speaking of environmental issues, as a graduate of the Kazan State University Faculty of Ecology and Nature Protection, I was always interested in helping young people to understand that caring about the nature, the environment, and the planet in general is one of the most essential duties of humankind, and there are many ways to practice it. Many of the Happy Hippo scripts are aimed to raise awareness in environmental questions like preventing cutting trees, or rivers and lakes pollution, saving energy and natural resources, reducing garbage, and many other important issues. I remember one of these skits. It starts with a businessman advising his wife over the telephone not to buy fruit or vegetables from a particular vendor who uses chemical sprays that could endanger the health of their family. Immediately following this conversation, two people are ushered into his office, the first one complaining about the pollution released by the businessman's factory and its effect on her child. The second, who is meanwhile quietly sobbing and obviously carrying something bulky under her coat, suddenly throws aside her wrap and deposits a dead dog on the businessman's desk, crying that this was her beloved pet, who was poisoned by drinking from the stream next to this man's factory. At that point, we interrupted the drama and invited the audience, who were business people, to discuss on the topic. Business people at the show were galvanized by the sketch and engaged in a very energetic discussion of environmental issues as well as ethics in business practices, something they claimed they had not done previously. Scientific studies conducted to evaluate the effectiveness of the Zipopo training among school students in the Republic of Tatarstan showed that regular long-term lessons lead to improvement of relations between students and their peers, parents and teachers, raise awareness as conscious citizens of the country, as well as lead to an increase in students' self-esteem. And this improvement is quite noticeable. For example, up to 90% of students noted positive changes in their relations with their peers, with their teachers, and with their parents after 9 months of Happy Hippo weekly lessons in their school. When we asked what Zipopo, or the Happy Hippo show, is, we usually answer that it is an interactive performance program that teaches ethical decision making. It uses a variety of presentation modes, including live performance, radio, television, and newspaper columns. It usually involves a dramatic skit written, performed, and directed by the participants. A challenging life situation is presented and resolved through group discussion. Zipopo draws on universal human values and positive constructive choices to arrive at ethical solutions. The very nature of Zipopo, including the encouragement of dramatic art, script writing, acting, and directing, allows for instant creative debate to touch on real-life dilemmas, and very often for the first time. Zipopo aims to develop consultation in the search for positive solutions while encouraging dialogue, positive behavior, and moral responsibility in every individual. A driving objective is to create a safe environment that encourages participants to analyze assumptions about right and wrong and develop the courage to think independently. Neurologists say that our brains are programmed much more for stories than for abstract ideas. Tales with a little drama are remembered far longer than any slide crammed with analytics, says John P. Cotta. Maya Angelou said that there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. The concept underlying Zipopo is to present viewers with an opportunity to look at moral or ethical issues and to provide them with the means to approach life problems and find positive solutions through specific dramatic examples. The power of positive example has a long and distinguished history in Russia. It is a known fact that following the publication in the late 19th century of Leo Tolstoy's novel The Resurrection, about a man who forfeits his wealth and prominent position in society to repent for an evil deed he committed in his youth, many readers of this popular book radically changed their lives, confessing to crimes that they had committed earlier, donating their possessions to charity and performing good works. It is extremely important for a young person to learn to be aware of the consequences of his or her behavior. In Kazan, Russian Federation, Zipopo was performed many times in the youth penitentiary for a group of 100 young men. Many of the dramas showed young people who commit deeds that are close to breaking the law. In the following discussion, many young inmates of the prison said that never in their lives they had a chance to think about the consequences of their deeds and weigh the results of their behavior. Young people must be taught in schools, even in the kindergarten, that before doing something you have to think thoroughly what will happen then, many of them said. Thanks to Zipopo, I acquired a habit to analyze before acting, said one of them. This is something I will never forget in my life, said another one. In 2012, UNICEF has decided to introduce a Happy Hippo methodology to theater groups and Ministry of Education of Sudan, Africa, in provinces South Darfur, West Darfur, and Kassala. The objective of this project was to create platforms or social spaces where young people examine of real-life issues by dramatizing ethical and moral dilemmas, as well as conflicts experienced by young people. The methodology should facilitate discussions about constructive problem-solving strategies that can be owned and applied by young people in their day-to-day lives. The advantage of the use of theater talk show elements is that they help to air or acknowledge conflicts as well as ethical moral issues in a captivating and entertaining way, in order to then compile ethically based approaches of conflict resolution together with the audience. Over 500 performances were attended by almost 33,000 adolescents and youth, both male and female, in rural neighborhoods of South Darfur, West Darfur, and Kassala, and were involved in discussions in a captivating and entertaining way of some real-life issues of early marriage, school health, female genital mutilation, tribal conflicts, drug addiction, HIV/AIDS, and education of girls. At each state, the dramatic presentation as well as the discussions followed were adjusted to fit the local cultural traditions. Approximately 37% of the audiences were mostly young women and girls. We are looking forward to continue collaboration with our colleagues in India and worldwide in order to help young generations to correct their characters, to improve their manners and to purify their conduct, as it is the most vital duty in these days. Thank you, and I wish you a great conference.